Hi everyone, welcome back to Storytime Recaps. In this video, I'm going to recap one of the film from 2015, Curve. Without any further, let's get started. The film opens in a desert with a woman named Mallory driving a car. We find out that she is engaged to be married in a week, and she is leaving the city to prepare for the wedding at her sister's house. The girl doesn't seem particularly excited about the marriage ceremonies because she finds it hard to believe that she will be married in just a week. On the way there, she has a video chat with her sister Ella. Ella informs her that she hasn't purchased her plane tickets yet because she wants to be sure Mallory is genuinely happy with her choice and in love. Mallory answers, pretending to be happy, and hangs up. It's unclear what is causing her to feel this way. As the girl drives on a remote road while lost in her thoughts, she turns on a service road from the main road. She takes this route because she intends to take a shortcut to Denver. But on the way, her car breaks down, stopping her in her tracks. She then attempts in vain to start the engine, but with no effect. At this point, Mallory is by herself in a completely isolated region, and there are no signals either. Therefore, she can't phone for assistance. When she opens a soda can and it bursts, soaking her clothes, she then walks to the back of the car to change. Right at that moment, she is startled by a man named Christian. He asks her what's wrong and, feeling sorry for the lost girl, starts working on fixing her car. Luckily for Mallory, the man is skilled at what he does, and once he solves the issue, Mallory expresses her gratitude. As Mallory continues to drive, it occurs to her that the man is on foot, and that because he assisted her in fixing her car, the least she could do for him would be to give him a ride. She offers for him to get on, and as they drive, we discover that Christian has no idea what it means to be quiet. He begins chatting and tries to talk himself up, which is when he starts acting strangely. He talks about how fate brought them together and how it was meant to be this way. Soon after, we discover that this man is a complete pervert because he begins to speak to her in quite inappropriate ways. Mallory stops the car after she has had enough of the boy's jokes and tells him to get out. Christian, on the other hand, is not the one to obey. He never entered the car with ease. Mallory is forced to continue driving after the pervert pulls out a knife and threatens to stab her if she doesn't comply. As she considers how to escape the pervert and save her own life, she discovers that Christian is not buckled up. She then accelerates as fast as she can and crashes into the barrier close to a curve. When the car crashes, the next thing we see is Mallory hanging upside down in it. When she tries to get out of it, her foot gets stuck in the seat, preventing her movement. Since Christian was not wearing a seatbelt, he landed out of the car unconscious, suffering minor injuries, but not as serious as Mallory. It is evident that the man is in better shape than Mallory when he wakes up, approaches her, and finds that one of her legs is caught. He then urges Mallory to leave the area quickly, telling her that she is not meant to die hanging upside down in her car. Mallory is left with no alternative but to scream for assistance, and we can see that a river is nearby as night goes down, but nobody is there to assist her, and she remains in the same situation for quite a bit of time. As the night grows darker and the temperature drops, Mallory's health begins to worsen. Mallory searches everywhere and discovers some of her clothes in her car. By some miracle, she puts them on, and to her good fortune, the car's battery still remains strong, so she switches on the heating. Unfortunately, the cold isn't the only issue. She gets stuck in what appears to be a forest with plenty of wild animals nearby. She quickly switches on her car's headlights to frighten them away, and amazingly, she survives the grueling night. When the sun rises, Mallory is still stuck in her car and in serious trouble because she has run out of water and food. The entire day passes with no one coming to her aid, and when she wakes up the next morning, she is still there and looks around but finds not a single sign of hope. To make matters worse, Christian shows up looking incredibly healthy and happy, and, on top of that, he has that look of sad satisfaction on his face and doesn't feel ashamed to admit that he is enjoying every second of Mallory's pain. He reappears to torment her mental state, eating and drinking in front of her. The pervert then tells her once more about how fate is a funny thing as Christian sits there relishing in her suffering. He also informs her that he has discovered a cabin, which is currently unoccupied, but that he believes it's used by a family. He also realizes that Mallory may not live for long because she may not survive another night. With that hope, he departs from the scene as Mallory cries out for assistance. When the third night arrives, it is pitch black outside. By chance, Mallory discovers a lighter in her car, which she lights to provide some light and possibly some warmth in the dead of winter. She soon falls asleep, but not before a family of rats wakes her up and starts interacting with her body. Now that she is angry and frustrated with everything, she decides to kill a rat after giving it some thought. In the end, the rat's visit does not actually harm her, because at least she gets some food. When Mallory wakes up the following morning, she hears her phone rings. This is the best thing that could have happened to her given the circumstances, and all she can think about is hope. However, before she can make any more phone calls, Christian reappears, and as soon as she does, Mallory hides her phone. Christian begins to tell her about the cabin once more, mentioning that the family who lives there has returned. He then reveals that he has them imprisoned in their own cabin and assures her that she should not fear him in the slightest because he will assist her in leaving. When Christian discovers that Mallory has been keeping her cell phone hidden from him, he takes it from her right away and gives her a saw. At first, Mallory tells him that the saw cannot be used to cut through the door, and he acknowledges that she is correct. But he does not expect it to because he gave it to her only to cut her foot and free herself. He also says that this is her only chance, and if she does not act quickly, she might die here. After that, he abandons her once more. With the saw in her hands, Mallory considers what Christian instructed her to do but screams in anger. As night sets and she becomes thirsty because it has been a long since she hasn't had any water. It's possible that God heard her plea and answered her request for heavy rain so she wouldn't die of thirst. When she gets on the radio, she finds out that the roads are flooding due to the rainstorm and that people are turning to the smaller roads because the main routes are flooded. To her disbelief, a car pulls up shortly after, and it turns out to be her nightmare. As Christian approaches, Mallory devises a scheme in which she applies the dead rat's blood to her foot, and then poses as though she has passed out while attempting to amputate her foot. Christian approaches enough to use his flashlight to check in, but as soon as he gets close enough, Mallory manages to stab him, grabs his car keys, locks it, and then throws the keys away so that he won't be able to find them in the middle of the night. Now, the plan she has in mind is that someone might pass by and they will notice his car stop by there. Shortly after a car approaches and turns out to be a police car, Mallory screams out in an attempt to get the policeman's attention, but her voice is drowned out by the thunder. However, Christian continues to act as though he is an innocent man who was hurt in the storm, and he begs the officer to take him to the near cabin. Mallory cries, but no one is listening to her anymore. She starts to worry that she won't survive if she can't leave the area quickly. She thinks over what Christian said, trying to summon the courage to continue. Finally, she decides enough is enough and attempts to cut her leg off, barely making a few very small cuts before her car starts to move because of the flood. When the car begins to fall, the door opens, allowing her to escape. However, she now needs medical attention and has to leave the area. As Mallory gets closer to the riverside, she begins to walk away from it. A short distance away, she notices a cabin and hears someone screaming inside. This encourages her to move quickly towards the house. When the stick she is holding triggers a bear trap installed on the ground. She now realizes that Christian must be at the cabin that Christian informed her about, so she starts to consider that option as she looks around it. Mallory witnesses after killing the police officer who had previously assisted him. Christian holds their daughter Katie captive. When Katie secretly enters the cabin, she discovers that Christian has also slain the homeowners, so she takes the police officer's gun. Mallory sneaks in and tries to free the girl while Christian is trying on a police uniform, possibly for his next evil scheme. Shortly after, Mallory hears Christian approaching and hides just in time to see the pervert appear. She then points the gun at him and threatens to shoot him if he moves. As Mallory struggles with Christian, she tells Katie to flee as Christian continues to attack her. Shortly after, Katie manages to escape. Mallory disappears from the room when Christian walks in looking for her. She eventually beats him by pushing him off from a second balcony, and then he falls and crushes his leg in a bear trap. After that, Mallory limps downstairs with Katie and gives him his knife. Mallory tells him that she will give him the same chance that he gave her. Mallory acknowledges that maybe this is how fate intended it to be, considering the first time they met before the movie ends. Christian suffers from his wound while thinking about what Mallory said. Looking for help, Mallory and Katie walk down the street. Thanks for watching. And remember to turn on your notifications to watch more movie recaps like this one.